Summer routines live or die by how easy they are, and honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Groons is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Groons.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's #1, #2 employee. Leave a message at the... Hey, Jamie, it's me, Jamie. This is your daily pep talk. I know it's been rough going ever since people found out about your a cappella group, Mad Harmony, but you will bounce back. I mean, you're the guy always helping people find coverage options with the Name Your Price tool. It should be you giving me the pep talk. Now get out there, hit that high note, and take Mad Harmony all the way to nationals this year! Sorry, it's pitchy.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Welcome back to TalkNorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. For his next trick, Michael Russo is going to try to do an entire show while looking at his phone, typing, and ignoring me. Oh wait, that's every show.
I know. I'm trying to get the Wi-Fi in this place to work. But
Well, you could have done that before we started the show.
I know.
But we're in a rush because we have a lot of urgent things to talk about, like you meeting a WWE wrestler.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll talk about that. This is the Russo-Souhan Show. I'm Jim Souhan. He's Michael Russo from The Athletic. Thanks to everybody who has listened and made this show such a success. I can't say that, but you understand. Thanks to Twill and the Edina Galleria, Fixologyrepair.com, and your State Farm agent, Tony Hoagland. So tell me the wrestling story before we get to the playoffs here.
I went to, I was down in Des Moines covering the Iowa Wild the last, or the 3 days, games 1 and 2. And Sunday night, Easter Sunday, was game 1, 4 o'clock game. Wrote my story, went back to the hotel around 9 o'clock. It's Easter Sunday night, so nothing's open. And so I went to the hotel bar. There's this, beautiful woman at the end of the bar, and I just happened to sit next to her because frankly,
just happened to sit next to her.
Well, because
fans.
The bar, there was like Brad Bombardier, Tommy Curvers, Dan Myers were all sitting at the bar, so there was only really one seat available.
Wait, Dan Myers was sitting at a bar?
Yeah,
you're shocking me with all these revelations.
So they were talking. So I sat next to this woman, and she and I started talking, and she's like, I'm like, where are you from? And I'm from Florida. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I've learned a lot over the years. And she goes, did I knock?
No, we're good.
Okay, sorry. Can't see. So she said she was from Florida. I'm like, oh, I'm from Florida. So, so I knew her where she's from.
Wait, you're from Florida?
Yeah,
I'm learning so much.
I know. So, and she's like, what do you do? And I'm a sports writer. And she goes, and I'm like, what do you do? And she goes, kind of sheepishly, she goes, well, I'm a professional athlete. I'm like, what? I'm in Des Moines, right? And she's a little thing too, it's like, and I'm like, what do you do? And she goes, and I knew that it didn't dawn on me, but I knew that the WWE was at the arena the next day. And she goes, well, I'm a wrestler, and I'm in the WWE. And it turns out that the woman I was talking to, again, I feel bad, but I didn't know who she was. She's Alicia Fox, who is the longest contracted female wrestler on the WWE, 13 years, since she was 20.
Dang.
She's 33 now. And so she and I talked for like 3.5 hours. I mean, I know her entire life story. I mean, everything. And so by the end of the night, like, we're exchanging information, and she's like, do you want to come and watch me wrestle tomorrow? I'm like, absolutely. So she put me on her guest list the next day. So she leaves. She goes upstairs at like, 2 a.m. or something, And Curvers or Curvers had already left, but Bomber and Dan's like, "What's going on? Who is that woman?" And I'm like, "You know who that is? That she's a professional wrestler." And Dan goes, "What? Like who?" And I go, "Alicia Fox," and he goes crazy. I didn't realize that Dan. Now, I mean, actually, shockingly, not knowing Dan, this shouldn't shock me.
No,
that he was a wrestling fanatic. Knows like every storyline, every wrestler, blah 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 blah. So he's like, "You got to take me." So I text her the next morning. I'm like, "Hey, can you add to my guest list?" And she's like, "Yeah, no problem." So she puts me down for like 3 tickets. And so Dan and I get to Wells Fargo Arena, and we're going down, and we're going down, and we're going down, and they're pointing us to the way. Next thing I know, we're 2 rows from the ring. And it was freaking entertaining. I mean, it was 3. First of all, it is a long night. It's like 4 hours WWE Raw. Like they do 2 wrestling matches before you go live on USA Network. Then you have the whole bill, and then afterwards there's even more. And it's just fascinating kind of being there, the whole production of it, when they go to commercial, what they do to kind of edit stuff. And I will say, as scripted as it is painful. Like these are athletes.
I mean, that's the thing. The outcomes might be fake, but you can't fake jumping in the air and doing backflips and slamming somebody on the ground.
Oh my God! And when they slap each other in the top of the chest, I mean, that stuff is real. Like that is not like.
I know a lot of former wrestlers like Jim Brunzell. They have injuries from doing all this stuff. They walk around. They look like old football players.
Yeah.
They have bad knees, bad elbows, bad backs, everything.
Yeah. So first of all, the night before, after I met her, I like Googled her, and next thing I was up 2 hours, like watching all her videos, reading everything about her, like even know more of her life story, and start connecting all the dots. So during the night, she's texting me like, "Hey, send me where you are because I'll look for you during the match," and things like that. And I'm like, I said to Dan, I swear to God, if she pulls me up on the freaking ring, I'm not going. You're going. He's like, "Oh, I'm going." So, but I will say it was entertaining. Like. And then I watched her in her match, and then she texted us after. She's like, "Hey, come out. I'd like to hear what you think of it." So we go back to the hotel, and there she is sitting at the bar when we got back, and proceeded to spend 4 hours with her that night talking to her, and just an awesome woman. And she's got a ton of projects outside of the WWE, and frankly, whenever she retires, whenever that is down the stretch, she's obviously going to have a bright future. She's one of the most intelligent people I've ever talked to. She's into holistic stuff and philosophy, and she there were like 50 things that she said that was like right over my head. I'm like a lowly dumb sports writer, so it was really cool. It was it was just kind of like, it just shows you like how in life it's just so weird how like you're driving to Des Moines, and who knows, at the end of the night I'm going to become buddies with a WWE wrestler, and like even just since just chatting with her the last couple of days. So I mean it's just crazy the way life works, But I mean, going to Des Moines, Iowa.
More to the point, it's crazy the way your life works. Because you are like frozen Forrest Gump. You go to a hockey arena or you go to a hockey event, and you end up meeting people. You end up hanging out. I mean, listen, I'm the opposite. I'm boring. I'm old. I'm married. I have a dog. Yeah. When my default position is go home and play with the dog. You do these things. Mm-hmm. You meet really interesting people. You meet interesting people from the music business and great bands, and you travel and do cool stuff.
Well, it's funny. Like I was thinking, like, when you drive 3.5 hours each way to places, you kind of psychoanalyze yourself. And, I'm a weird person. Like if you met me at a restaurant or a bar and you started talking to me about the Wild, I mean, I hate to sound like this is going to kind of sound like I'm an absolute jerk off, but I mean, I am not interested. I love talking to people, but the second you're start asking me stuff about the Wild or things like that, it's just like, then
you're back in work mode.
Ask my mother.
You're back
she knows.
You're back in work mode.
The other night, she's like, she said something to me. I'm like, "Mom, at 10 o'clock at night, I don't want to talk about Paul Fenton right now. Okay. Sorry. And that's just how I am. Same thing. But if you want to talk to me at anything else, right, I'm more than willing. And I think that's why is that I meet all these fascinating people and get along with them. It's like, I love learning about people's life. And I've never met a WWE wrestler in my entire life. And just hearing what their life is like what she was doing, like she was on Monday Night Raw. So Tuesday morning she flies back to Jacksonville, and she lives like south of Jacksonville, and then she's home for like 2-3 days with her life, and then all of a sudden she gets up and she's going to go to Lexington this weekend, and then she does it all over again the following week, and just the stuff like it was fascinating. Like on the day of her match, none of the wrestlers know what's going to happen until essentially. They show up at that's like even at the game day, the quote unquote game day, shows up at the rink at 1. What she does until her match at 10 o'clock that night, jump rope and jumping jacks and eat and roll arounds in the ring and all the stuff that you just never even think about. And then when do you find out what your match is and then the rehearsing with whoever you're fighting and all the drama that even goes into the behind like anything. There's drama.
I'm sure.
And it's fascinating. She learned very quickly I was a reporter, her whole personal life. I know everything. I know her cat's names and it's funny. I mean, it was kind of cool. And so, but it is. I mean, it's been an exciting couple of weeks. Like a couple of days before, I sat 5 rows behind home plate with Eric Stolhansky and his wife at the Marlins game, and that was really neat. And so there's just it is. It's kind of neat. When the season ends, all the stuff that you get to kind of do.
Absolutely.
So.
All right, let's talk hockey next. I'm glad you told me about all that. I think it's really cool. Let's talk hockey next. Let's also thank Twill in the Edina Galleria, primary sponsor. Alden shoes, everything head to toe. Cool hats, cool belts, cool accessories, cool travel accessories. I wear the Johnny O, the Kevin Millar, Kevin Millar, the baseball player.
Yeah.
Peter
I know
Millar.
well.
They are Peter Millar, Crown Shop. I wear their Stenson shirts. I bought a bunch of those. I will never need another dress shirt as long as I live. That's the great thing about Twill. You go there, you buy stuff. It's quality stuff. It's going to last you forever.
Jim usually doesn't like to shop for clothes. I don't like it when he shops for clothes either, because he used to buy stuff I'd want to throw out. That's why I'm so glad he's found Twill in the Edina Galleria. He likes shopping there because of the comfortable environment and the friendly staff. He finds clothes that actually fit him properly and are high-quality brands that will look great for years, whether he's golfing or working. Our favorites so far are Peter Millar, Johnny O, and Barber. We spend our money at Twill because we love the clothes and we love the no-pressure shopping. Drop by Twill in the Edina Galleria for the best shopping experience and best clothes you'll find in the Twin Cities.
So Stanley Cup Finals 03, I'm covering Devils Ducks, and we're staying at the Westin in Times Square. Boston Red Sox are staying there. Kevin Millar walks in the lobby after a Saturday night game. I think it was a Saturday night. Friday night or Saturday night. No, it must. I don't know. It doesn't matter. So, pretty sure Saturday. And I knew him a little bit from covering the Marlins. So I go up to him and I start talking to him, and he goes up, basically comes to room, and then he comes down, completely changed his clothes real quick, and he's meeting guys in the lobby, and I'm like, where are you guys going? And he goes, we're going out. It's Saturday night at 1 a.m., and I know they have a 1 p.m. game the next day. Okay? So I'm like, holy mackerel. That's
baseball. As a baseball writer, we used to call it bounceability, the ability to go out all night and still do your job the next day, whether you're a writer or a player.
So next morning, I call a buddy of mine as a joke, and I say, hey, because I knew he gambled, I'm like, if you want to make a bunch of money today, throw everything you own on the Yankees. Because I saw in the lobby last night, the Red Sox were going out 12 hours before the game. So anyway, Sunday night game. Ducks and we're in New Jersey, and I go to the game, and I'm in the press box on the Halo. It's 8 p.m., 9 p.m. or whatever, and I realized I never looked to see what the Red Sox score was, and they won 9-1.
Of course.
And I texted my friend right away, and I'm like, "Tell me you didn't put any money on the freaking Red Sox. On the Yankees." And he's like, "No, thank God I didn't listen to you."
Another common refrain among baseball writers when I was doing the job was that the Hall of Fame is full of guys who could hit with hangovers.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. They are professionals.
No question about it. All right, let's get to first of all, let's address this because, I do a lot of outstate radio and get calls a lot. And the first question I've been getting lately is, boy, all these upsets in the NHL playoffs, boy, couldn't the Wild could have made a run. I'm like, I don't think so. I just didn't.
I agree with you. during the year when they had all their guys, the Coyles and Niederreiters, the Granlunds, I kept on saying that if this was the year that they make it, because you just saw it. Like, I covered this league. I watch Nashville. I watch Winnipeg. And they are not the same teams that they've been in the last couple of years. And in a lot of ways, I think it's kind of like the Wild. Like when you've been around together for a while, all of a sudden, when you start to realize the effort it is to get to the point, it's like all of a sudden you start to actually decline. And I think that's what's going on with those two teams. And I just felt like this in the Western Conference, there was no dominant team this year, and we saw it. I mean, to me, Calgary was one of the best teams in the league this year, especially in the conference, and they were beat in the first round. And so all year long, I think I've been saying that San Jose, Calgary were probably the teams to beat in the West. And then I will say I picked in our athletic thing, I picked San Jose to win the series, and right in the middle of the series, I changed my tune. I thought Vegas was going to go all the way, and then they lose in a controversial fashion, which we should talk about. But this was the year, but I totally agree with you. The way that they were constructed at the end of the year, the Wild, they would have been rolled over by Calgary. Absolutely. I mean, they are just, I mean, you saw, I mean, they were shut out 11 times, didn't have a lot of depth, obviously a ton of injuries. They just, while this might have been the year to finally get in and go on a run, I don't think the way the Wild constructed at the end of the year would have done anything. Calgary would be in the second round right now.
I agree with you completely. All right, you brought it up. Tell me about that big call.
Oh, well, I mean, it's just a bad call. I mean, I don't care. Like, look, you could do the old by the letter of the law. Well, if it's a penalty and then he's bleeding, it's a major. That's the, look, anybody that's watched hockey at all at a minimum knows that was a horrendous call. It was not a 5-minute major cross-checking. He got him in the chest. It happens on every face-off play in the league. Unfortunately, there was an awful ending to it where he fell awkwardly, and then Stastny helped him down, and then he hit the side of and then he hit the ice, and he was just bleeding horrifically, Pavelski. And I wish him all the best. I love the guy. But it's not a major penalty. And then you could be the fan that's like, well, just kill the penalty. You don't have to give up 4 goals. Yes, absolutely. Vegas, there's no excuse that Vegas blows that 3-0 lead there. But they would not have been in that. Vegas Golden Knights, there is no freaking debate about this. If that bad call wasn't made, they'd be in the second round right now. That was a horrendous call. It cost them the series. And how do we know that? Well, the league has apologized to the team. The league has taken the most senior NHL referee, a guy that has called 10 Stanley Cup finals and has essentially booted him off the playoffs, and his cohort who actually made the call. And so there's the accountability. So this isn't a debate. Like the league apologized. The league admitted these refs effed up. The league has gotten rid of the refs, and it's that simple. And but to get to the other point, what an amazing comeback. And the thing that was unbelievable, and again, I was covering Iowa on that night, so I didn't get to see it live really. I saw the Twitter, and then finally in overtime, actually the last 5 minutes of the game, and I had it Game Center on my laptop while I was writing. But I will say, it was like almost a movie type comeback, like something that you can make a movie out of. Like their leader, their beloved Joe Pavelski, the guy that nobody in the world doesn't like, is down on the ice bleeding from his head. One of his best friends, Joe Thornton, who he's played with forever, picks him up, helps him to the ice, blood pouring out of a towel. Joe Thornton screaming at the bench, you go out and score 3 goals right now. Logan Couture, who I know extremely well, who is incredible friends with Joe Pavelski, scoring that goal, turning to the bench and screaming, that's 1, angrily. And then willing them to a comeback by scoring the tying goal as well. I mean, it was unbelievable to watch it. I mean, this is the type of stuff that, like, holy crap, if I was covering, I would have probably panicked because I'm like, I'm not a good enough writer to write what's going on right now. Like, this is like where I would have been like, please, Souhan, come here and show up and save me, But it was phenomenal. So, anyway.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
A lot more. We're going to get to a lot more about the playoffs and about the Wild and everything else.
Maybe Charlie Coyle will mention.
Yes, we're going to do that. And want to tell you though, I think we had 67,000 listens for this podcast last month. That's a monster number for a local podcast. You should be advertising.
People must love misery.
You should be advertising with us. If you own a business, if you know somebody who runs a business, you should be advertising with us. A very passionate, large, growing listenership, and that's why Fixology Repair advertises with us. John Hedges, our buddy, told me that they're going to open another shop. No, they have something much success because of us. They're opening another shop. This one's going to be in downtown St. Paul. We'll give you more details as that comes along. Probably going to be summer, maybe July or August of 2019. So if you have used this Fixology services downtown Minneapolis in the Skyway or third floor of the Mall of America, you'll now have and you live over in St. Paul or on the east side, you'll have an even more convenient way to go to fixologyrepair.com.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at our 2 locations, Mall of America and the Skyway in downtown Minneapolis. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at fixologymn on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
All right, so Nino and Coyle advancing.
Yeah, Nino and Coyle advancing. Nino, not a lot of points in the first round, but man, what a resilient Carolina team. Again, I think that the Washington Capitals showed how hard it is. Very similar to the Pittsburgh Penguins, what I said last week about how sometimes when you win it all, you know how difficult it is that you don't have the energy there. And I think that we saw there that Washington was never able to really get up to the Carolinas' hunger in that series, and you saw it. I mean, the last second half of that game 7 the other night, and especially in overtime, it would have been an absolute injustice if the Carolina Hurricanes didn't win that game. Nino was unbelievable in that game, and especially overtime. And Rob and I was texting with him immediately after the game, and he told me that on the shift before Justin Williams scored, it was Brock McGinn that scored the goal, but it was Justin threw that nut. Remember, Nino had that unbelievable, it turned to puck over, he forced the giveaway and came in and just snapshot. He thought he had him beat and was almost ready to celebrate. He thought he just had visions of the Wild Game 7 winner. Yep. And, the way the puck came off of the stick and he thought he had him beat. And early first shift of overtime, same thing, cut to the net and close. So he was awesome. And then Charlie Coyle has just become a very important piece on a very good Bruins team. Third line, playing with guys like Johansson, and he's just kind of insulated there. He plays his position. He's not bounced around. He's not asked to be the go-to guy. And what has happened because of it? He's become the go-to guy, coincidentally enough. And it's really amazing to me that here's a guy, he's become the player that the Wild always thought he was and wished he would be. And to me, this now says more about the Wild, is that they cannot figure out a way to turn themselves into a contender where you could take a guy like Coyle, put him in a spot, and get the best out of him. And a perfect example, he's hit 5 goals in 8 playoff games. He had 4 in his last 26 with the Wild. And this is a guy that, he's a gym rat, he works hard, this is a guy that in the 2014 playoffs played with 2 separated shoulders. This is him. And now he's become that player after the Wild get rid of him. And it really is amazing. He scores the tying goal and the overtime goal. And what happens in Minnesota? He's scoring on on shots that are snipes or open nets that in Minnesota, just remember the 2017 playoffs where Pajärvi won it for St. Louis. What happens a minute before that goal? Maybe a couple minutes before that goal. Open net, point blank, goal mouth, puck comes to Coyle. He fans on the shot. And here he goes and he's burying pucks into the open net. It's being Minnesota sports fan. It's not easy. So.
The highest praise I can give to Tony Hoagland is that Michael and I both pay for him to be our insurance agent. This is not a advertising trade deal. We actually work with Tony because of the service, because we like him, because they do a great job. I once had an accident driving with my family, and this is a different State Farm agent, but State Farm was great. They made everything easy. And when you get into an accident, when you have to deal with a problem, you want your agent to make everything very easy. Tony Hoagland, Hoaglund.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoagland. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number 1 in car insurance since World War II and number 1 in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763 888-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
Coincidentally, I talked to them yesterday because I got a new car yesterday. I leased a new car, and I'm driving off the lot, and I'm like, I'm the type of guy that would probably get into an accident right off the lot. So I called while on the lot to change my State Farm to flip out cars. So, everybody that works for him too is awesome.
Nice
like
and
Michaela
efficient.
is the one that I deal with a lot there, and she's awesome. And I'm like, for some reason, with all my changes of address the last couple of months, it's been weird. So it's like I've had to call them a good amount of times to get things changed. So.
How was your trip to Iowa? Other than the hockey part, we've already talked about the
hockey
wrestling
part. Was cool. You know what was really neat? Besides being at the bar, I was at the bar and I'm sitting there and I'm talking to her, and in the background over my head is like they're playing songs like "Oh Sherry." Remember Steve Perry?
Yes.
That was my first ever album.
Mine, I think, was Hall & Oates.
Yeah. Yeah, I had Hall & Oates. I had like Thompson Twins.
Sarah
Madonna.
Smile, I think, was the first single I ever
did have
bought.
Hall & Oates, so Maneater. And then what was a couple others that I had? But anyway, it's like they're playing that, and you start thinking about your childhood, and all of a sudden the bartender's like, "Here, you guys seem to want shots," and you're like, "Maybe a shot of Crown Royal," and I'm like, "What am I, college?"
No kidding.
But it was like kind of like
shots are a terrible idea.
Yeah, I know. How the hell did we get on this subject?
I don't know. Hockey in Iowa.
Hockey in Iowa. What was really cool was going to the Black Aces practice and seeing a lot of the players that aren't playing for Iowa right now that are going to be prospects. I mean, the Kovanovs and the Ladnias and the Duheims and the Johanssons and the Shaw. Actually, Shaw's been playing. Unfortunately, he had a major injury last night on a dirty play by Duncan Siemens, who a certain columnist in this town ripped the Wild Ones for not taking over Jonas Brodin. Wasn't you. I'll never forget that. Like, because that's the perfect example. Like it's like even last year when the Wild took Johansson, it's like, I'm not going to sit there and rip it. I've never seen the kid play.
Right.
And same thing is like, you hadn't seen Jonas Brodin play. Well, we got to take the mean Canadian and Duncan Siemens. And look, Duncan Siemens playing for the freaking Milwaukee Admirals 8 years later. Dirty play, and he's hurt. But who else did we see there? Boca, Sadek, Kakkonen, trying to think who else. There were a good amount of Dor players like that, and all these guys are the kind of prospects that are going to be infused into the system here the next couple of years. So that was cool. The other cool thing is Philip Johansson. I kind of regret telling the story about how Johan Garpenlöv didn't know who he was, who's the Swedish GM. And just talking to him a lot the last couple of days, you just hope the kid makes it. He's such a nice kid, and it's not his fault the Wild took a second or third rounder in the first round. And so there's just and he's, if you see him, he's on Instagram, he's on Twitter, so he sees all the stuff. And I'm sure that what I wrote even got back over there, and so he's feeling the pressure, and you just hope that he makes it. And And so that was kind of cool. And then the other thing that was interesting was watching Tim Army bag the heck out of these guys, all these prospects, to kind of show them what pro hockey is all about. And they were buckled on the ice. I've never seen guys just flat on the ground looking like they were going to die, like the amount of guys that were that night. And this isn't anything, you got to put this in context. All these kids, except for Sokolov, which is just another freaking story, that guy. All these kids are kids that came right off the junior ice, right off the college ice, or right off, in Johansson's case, the Euro ice. Well, Johansson hasn't skated in 2 weeks. He's been done. And these other kids are, again, they're coming off like either playoff runs like Duheim, or Ladnia. Like when you same thing in the NHL. Like when you're on a playoff or the deep stretch of the NHL, you're barely practicing. You're definitely not having hard practices. So these guys have been doing this for like a month and a half of Ladnia barely practicing, and all of a sudden you're put onto the ice here, and you gotta do these bag skates. So it's not that they were out of shape. It's that Army did this to them when none of them were ready for it, and so it was hard to watch, man. It was crazy to watch, and I put some Twitter videos and pictures out there if you don't know what I'm talking about. So that was cool. I talked to Duheim. I like that kid a lot. It's part of its bias. I mean, he's from my neck of the woods in South Florida. So I grew up in Boca Raton. He grew up in Parkland. That's the next city over. I grew up basically in Parkland because as a young sports writer, I covered high schools. I covered Broward and Palm Beach County. The biggest high school, northern Broward County, is Douglas High School, where the shooting was last year, and that's where he grew up. His house is, I shouldn't say where, I almost said the community that he lives in. His house is 3 minutes away from Douglas High School. I have a lot of friends that live in his community. Ole Jokinen lives in his community. Roberto Luongo lives in his community in this development. It's right by Douglas. And so his sister went to Douglas. He would have gone to Douglas. So I talked to him about the shooting. And, it was emotional for him. The neighbor across the street from him, he told me, was at the school, is also a hockey player, was at the school at the time of the shooting. He was so traumatized he had to switch high schools. It's just awful. And so it was just finally cool because I've talked to Duheim a couple times via direct message on Twitter. It was finally cool to meet him. And I hope he meets he'd be the 13th, assuming none debut. By the time he debuts, he'd be the 13th Floridian to ever play in the NHL if he makes it. And,
wow.
And there's not a lot that have. I mean, Dan Heino, technically born in Florida, and then Chikrin that plays for Arizona. He's from Florida. He's from the same area, Carl Springs, Parkland. Trying to think any others that are like big guys. Not too many. So.
Let's buzz through some Twitter questions.
Yeah.
Shorzy, our friend, said Kaprizov had a birthday today. What is Russo buying him for his birthday?
A chartered plane. I don't know. I put that on my mailbag. By the way,
I saw a stat today. 44% of Russians wish they lived in another country.
Really?
Yes. It's a brutal place. I mean, it's just been taken over by if you're not an oligarch, you are living in a slum.
Yeah. I wonder how they do a poll like that. It seems fake. Fake news.
Yeah. It sounds right.
Speaking of Kaprizov, because this is Minnesota, I start off my gigantic meeting mailbag today with some bad news. I talked to his agent, Dan Milstein, yesterday, and Milstein again says that as many rumors are there that they're out there that he would be able to come here potentially if he won it all, which he did. That his contract is unbreakable and that he will be there until April 30th next year. So again, who knows? But that's again what they maintain.
From Alec, how much longer will the league put up with mediocre reffing in the playoffs? Sounds like they're not. If they're actually bumping guys off.
Yeah, but then who advances? Steve Kazari, who's the guy that watched Morrissey cross Jack Stahl in the face last year. So I mean, the problem is, and I've said this a lot. I mean, they've retired so many good refs in the last 5 to 10 years. I mean, just great refs. I mean, and I know they're up there in age, but guys like Paul Dvorsky and Brad Watson and everybody from Rob Schick to Don Koharski to Don Van Massenhoven to Sally McBagoo, all these veteran refs that I think these young refs, they don't know what they were doing. I was just going to tell a story that was told to me off the record by a supervisor, but I better not tell that one. But it kind of lends to it where these refs are just so inexperienced right now, and they're all out there. And so I agree. I think the officiating has been horrendous.
From our friend Tony Hoagland, also our insurance agent, other than the 3 that were sent down at season's end, who in Iowa do you see being an NHL contributor in the next year or two?
Well, I mean, I see no reason why Jerry Mayhew shouldn't get an NHL deal, whether he's a contributor or not. I don't know. I liked what I saw from Belpedio and Soucy in those games. Soucy's been great in the second half of the season after a horrific start. Belpedio looks good to me, but that's a mostly minor league veteran team. I mean, there's not a lot of prospects on that team. I will say I love Cal O'Reilly. He's the glue of that team. Monday in The Athletic, I'm going to have an awesome Cal O'Reilly feature. I've talked to his brother, Ryan O'Reilly, who plays for St. Louis. I've talked to his mom, and his childhood is fascinating. And it really explains to how he became this type of leader. And it's an amazing story that I'm going to tell if I ever sit down and write it. So I hope that you read that on Monday. But I think the problem, to get to Tony's question, with all these guys, and it really explains Cal O'Reilly's career, is that Cal down in the minors, Kyle Rao down in the minors, Matt Reed down in the minors, all these guys are great minor league players and maybe could have been decent NHL players, but the problem is that every time they're called up, they're put in a 6-minute-a-night role on the fourth line. Right. And so Cal O'Reilly is a minor league scorer. He's a guy that's a power play stud down there. Well, it does not help him. How can he ever become a regular NHLer if he's just called up and you're thrown on the fourth line? And so you almost wish that that a Cal O'Reilly at a minimum, if he's going to play fourth line center here on the minimum times that he's been called up by the Wild, which has only been a handful in his couple of years here, that you at least throw him on the power play or something. Let him be put in a position to succeed. But the reality is that all coaches are going to go with the guys that are there. So if all of a sudden, a Zach Parise gets hurt, well, you're going to take a Jordan Greenway or, maybe a third line winger that has that has power play potential, that hasn't gotten to play the power play. You're going to put him on the power play and not the fourth line veteran call up that comes up. So it's just hard. Once you're become a career minor leaguer, you're pretty much a career minor leaguer. And that team's full of career minor leaguers. I mean, as good as they've been and as entertaining as they've been, there's not a lot of prospects there. And what makes it intriguing is that in the next couple of years, they're starting to get an influx of young guys there. I can't wait to watch guys like Duheim and Durer and Ladnia there and Kovanov and these guys play in the AHL.
From Justin Wiggins, if the Bruins keep winning, how does that affect the draft pick from the Coyle?
It doesn't. That was my biggest. My biggest criticism of it ever. Is hey, I give them the credit for taking that 5th round pick and making it a 4th. If they won a round, which they did, but why if they win 2 rounds doesn't go to a 3rd? Why if they win 3 rounds doesn't go to a 2nd? Why was there not a player involved? I mean, this is what he should have done. It's like he tries too often to make quote hockey trades, and he forgot that he's taking tradable known quantities and trading them for unknown quantities. And look, I love that he's gotten these 22-year-olds with skill, and I think Donato's going to be a great player. But you want to maximize your trades, and I don't know why that didn't advance. This team, everybody thought Boston was going to be a Stanley Cup contender, and it didn't go up. So it doesn't go. They could go win the cup, and it's still Donato in a 4th.
From Carson, do you think the Pavelski injury is going to hurt his contract negotiations as UFA?
It could. I mean, they're going to have to make sure he's healthy with every team. I will say, and I wrote this in the mailbag, as much as I like Joe, I still think it's a risk for the Wild to go get him. You're going to give him a 3-year deal. He's not going to score 38 with no playmaker here. He's not the fleetest of foot regardless. And all of a sudden in 3 years, you're going to have a 38-year-old Suter, Pavelski, and Parise. I mean, it seems like the opposite of what Paul Fenton wants to do with this team. So.
From Kyle Yelly, I hope I get your name right. Do any offer sheets happen this summer?
Toronto would be the most at risk for them. This is why it's imperative that they get Marner done before free agency, most likely at the draft, because Marner, Kapanen, Janssen, those guys absolutely are offer sheet threats. From
Ryan Sonneson, who wins the Avs-Sharks series? I think the Avs would have beaten the Golden Knights.
Yeah, I picked the Avs in our athletic pool. I think I was at a 68-38 loss there in terms of, I think 68% of the athletic writers picked San Jose to win the series. But you know what? It was 98-2 Calgary to beat 98% to 2% Calgary beat Colorado, and I was one of the ones who picked Colorado. I just think they're no longer a one-line team. I think McKinnon's a man on the mission. I think Grubauer's been on a roll for 2 months. I like San Jose a lot. Without Pavelski, that hurts a ton. Karlsson, I don't like how he's played, and I don't like the things I hear about him off the ice there. I don't think he's the most beloved teammate. And Jones, to me, is still the question mark. But what I do love about that team, I love Burns, I love Vlasic, I love Braun. Hurdle's been unbelievable. LeBanc's been great. And Logan Couture, I think everybody knows. Sorry, I know he's the one that hurt Parise, but I think most people know that Logan's one of my favorite people and players in the league. I just think he's an incredible player, and it's such a shame that 5 years ago when the Wild could have traded for him, they didn't. So.
2 more Twitter questions. Thanks for everybody sending them in. We're not getting to a lot today because we had so much story time, but we do appreciate the questions. Thanks again to Twill in the Edina Galleria, Tony Hoagland, your State Farm agent in Champlin, and FixologyRepair.com. Keep an eye out this summer for their new location in downtown St. Paul. From Todd Simonson, how many free sticks and pairs of skates does each player get per season?
Well, I mean, there's no such thing as free. The team pays for all the players' equipment, and all players are different. Some get a new stick every game, some every second game. As for the skates, they're probably 4 or 5 pairs each, but again, I mean, that's all paid for. So I mean, it's free for the players, I suppose, but the team pays for that stuff. Right. I mean, the equipment trainers, Tony DaCosta and those guys. It's funny. I was talking to Tuna who's the longtime equipment manager of the Iowa Wild and Houston Aeros. And I was talking to him about just what they do down there because, this was his first time with the playoffs. So he was like in a new position where all of a sudden he was like, oh my God, I got to order, stuff for the playoffs and trying to make sure that he had enough inventory just in case they go on this crazy run. It was pretty funny.
From one more from Todd. We'll kind of wrap this up on a light note. Can you tell a funny story about what two players said to each other on the ice during a heated exchange? Any good stories about goofy exchanges?
God, off the top of my head, well, did you see the stuff? That was funny. Did you see the stuff with Cam Atkinson and Brad Marchand today?
Yep.
So Brad stepped on his stick, and Cam came out and said that he owes him $300. So if I was Brad Marchand, I'd tweet out something like, "Yeah, during our celebratory handshake, I will give you $300 cash." You might as well talk crap, which Brad Marchand's been known to do. But Marchand, did you see he had a quote today about Riley Nash? He goes, Riley was physical in the game yesterday, and he goes, that guy in 2 years here didn't have one hit.
Wow.
It's an unbelievable thing. Cal Clutterbuck was the king thing. And I mean, if I remember, I wrote a really funny story once for the Strib about all Cal Clutterbuck. I said, give me your top 10 chirps that you've said. And not only did he me the chirps, but he told me who he said it to. So Stefan Robidas, he went up to him and Stefan was trash talking him in a game in Dallas. And he went over and he was like, hey, roll down the window. I can't hear you. Or something like that because he had that full mask. And he had all sorts of funny lines. I think it was Marchand, where he, was making fun of his nose and making fun of Oposa's hair on his neck and stuff like that. Cal was the king of the trash talking. I hear Eric Fair is really good at it. So those would be the kind of the big things. So.
Great stuff from Michael. Appreciate it.
Just one final thought, believe it or not.
I'll take a final thought.
A really good one of my best friend as a kid's dad passed away the other day, and I just want to tell this funny story. So I was driving home from Des Moines thinking about it. So the first time I met this guy's dad, Perry, and his dad's name was Ari, I'm in his house, and Perry had been kind of prepping me for a while. Hey, just so you know, my dad is kind of a cantankerous, curmudgeon type thing. So I'm sitting there, and I must have slept over or something because it was in the morning, and it's I'm in the off their kitchen and their kitchen table was sort of like a den, like a lot of houses in Florida had. And so I'm sitting on this leather couch watching TV, and Perry must have been asleep. And I'm sitting there, and his dad kind of comes in this white t-shirt, white undershirt or whatever. And I kind of see him. I'm like, hello. And he looks at me, doesn't say anything. And he's making coffee or something. And he goes over to the kitchen table, and Perry had just walked in. And he goes to Perry, he goes, whose keys are these? He picks up these keys, and I turn around, I'm like, oh, they're mine, sir. And he takes them and he pegs them at my face and hits me square on. And I have laughed so hard at telling this, thinking of this story and retelling this story over the years for so long. And but it was his way of saying hello. It was the perfect way after hearing about Arnie.
That sounds painful, though.
Yeah, hear about Arnie for as long as I had. It was the funniest thing. It was painful. I was a little spooked, but as it turned out, he was definitely one of my favorite people as a friend's dad. All the times I went over there. As cantankerous as it was, I'm pretty sure he liked me over time. I remember one of the first times I was there, they were originally from Northern California and somehow wound up in Florida. And Arnie hated South Florida. Hated it. And from the moment I met him, he told me how much South Florida sucks and that he was going to move back to California one day. And then all of a sudden, right after high school, boom, the whole family, the second Perry graduated from high school, the whole family moved back to California. So rest in peace to a very cool friend's dad.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive a winner.
holiday tips and fun facts from Paul, Kristen, and Dexter at Total Wine & More.
The custom of bumping glasses with the cheers came from old Rome. When in Rome, cheers!
A pork crown roast with cranberry stuffing deserves a ripe, fruit-forward Cabernet from Paso Robles. Let me help you find the perfect bottle.
Looking for the right wine for a meaningful gift? Consider me your wine concierge.
Whether you're entertaining or just bringing the wine, we'd love to share our always low prices and ridiculous selection with you. This holiday, now offering same-day delivery at TotalWine.com. Cheers!
From the kids to Aunt Sue, keep your whole family connected on all their devices with crowd-pleasing gig speed internet from Xfinity. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Learn more about gig speed internet or other popular plans, now with even more speed. Enjoy faster downloads and a better streaming experience today. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit an Xfinity store for a great offer. Restrictions apply. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed.